Most drivers have no idea that the fuel they pump every week might be silently destroying the most expensive system in their vehicle. They assume gas is gas. They presume every brand is the same. They think that as long as the octane number matches the sticker on the fuel door, everything is fine. But that belief has cost millions of drivers thousands of dollars in repair bills they never saw coming. What if the real difference in engine life comes down to invisible chemistry added at the last step, before the fuel reaches your tank? What if the fuel you think is good enough is quietly cutting your engine's lifespan in half? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the fuel brands that protect your engine and the ones that quietly destroy it while you think you're saving money. 11. Chevron, the chemical sledgehammer that most drivers underestimate. Few people realize that 80% of fuel system failures come from carbon buildup, thick layers of sticky, baked-on deposits that choke injectors, coat intake valves, and slowly suffocate combustion chambers. It doesn't happen overnight. It builds quietly, mile after mile, until one day the engine misfires, idles rough, loses power, or gulps fuel like it's trying to breathe through a clogged nose. That's where Chevron steps in with something most people never think about: Techron. Techron isn't just a marketing word. It's a powerful detergent package loaded with polyisotheramine and polyisobutene amines, two of the strongest chemical cleaners legal to put into pump gasoline. These compounds break carbon apart at the molecular level before it can attach to valves and injectors. And here's the shocking part. Chevron, Shell, Exxon, even the cheap stations all pull fuel from the same pipelines. It's an identical base gas. The only difference is the detergent package added at the terminal. Chevron simply adds more and adds better chemistry. Independent tests show Techron can reduce intake valve deposits by nearly half compared to fuels using only the bare minimum government detergent requirement. That's the difference between clean injectors at 100,000 miles and injectors so clogged at 60,000 you're staring at a $300 cleaning bill. The math doesn't lie. The price difference? Maybe a few cents per gallon. The repair difference? Hundreds. Chevron isn't paying anyone to say this. The chemistry speaks for itself. And yet, Chevron is only the beginning, because another brand takes a different approach, a more protective approach, especially for modern engines that suffer carbon buildup faster than ever. 10. Shell, the nitrogen armor built for modern engines. Direct injection engines changed everything. They spray fuel directly into the combustion chamber, which improves power and efficiency, but leaves intake valves unwashed by fuel. That means carbon doesn't just build up, it accelerates. On average, DI engines build carbon 50% to 60% faster than older port injection engines. Shell's answer is their V-Power Nitro Plus formula, loaded with nitrogen-enriched detergents that create a thin protective barrier on metal surfaces. That barrier is the key. Once it forms, carbon struggles to bond to the valves and injectors at all. Prevention always beats cleaning, and Shell figured that out early. The result is cleaner valves, better combustion, and far fewer misfires. I've seen the consequences firsthand. Two nearly identical VW GTIs came in for service at almost the same mileage. Same generation, same maintenance schedule, same driving habits. The only difference was the fuel. One owner used Shell exclusively, the other bought whatever was cheapest each week. When the intake manifolds came off for carbon cleaning, the difference was unbelievable. The Shell car had a light dusting of deposits. The bargain fuel car's valves looked like they'd been dipped in tar. It took 3 hours of blasting to clean. Shell's premium costs more, but the numbers make sense. For about $1.50 extra per fill-up, you might save $600 in maintenance later. And just when you think Shell has the advantage, another brand steps in with something surprisingly rare in the fuel world: consistency. But that wasn't the whole story. 9. ExxonMobil, the quiet leader of consistency. With most brands, the quality of the additives changes depending on which octane you choose. Premium might get the full formula, while regular barely meets basic requirements. ExxonMobil doesn't play that game. Whether you pump 87, 89, or 93, you get the same level of deposit protection. That consistency matters more than most drivers realize. Engines don't care about octane unless they're designed for it. A car built for 87 octane gets no performance benefit from 93 unless that higher grade has better detergents. ExxonMobil removes the guesswork by treating all fuels equally. Every grade receives a top-tier certified detergent package designed to keep injectors and valves clean over hundreds of thousands of miles. Exxon isn't the cheapest. It isn't flashy. It doesn't push dramatic ads or revolutionary cleaning molecules. But what it does provide is predictable protection at any pump, in any region, with any octane. And consistency prevents problems before they even begin. Still, some brands manage to push past even this level of reliability. In fact, one brand uses more detergent than the top-tier minimum, and far more than most drivers expect. But the next brand raises the bar even higher. 8. 76. The overachiever that doesn't need hype. Most drivers don't know the name of 76's detergent package. They've never heard of ProClean, but if they did, they'd understand why 76 maintains cleaner engines over time. ProClean doesn't just meet EPA minimums, it exceeds them, not by a little, by a lot. 3 times more detergents than the government requires, and about 30% more than even top-tier certification demands. That aggressive chemistry fights deposits in the injectors, valves, and combustion chambers before they become a problem. A clean engine burns fuel more efficiently. It makes smoother power, it produces fewer emissions, and it stays healthier, longer. 76 doesn't brag about any of this. They don't need to. Their performance speaks through the engines that run on their fuel. And for drivers in the western United States, 76 stations are everywhere, making quality fuel surprisingly convenient. But what happens when you want clean fuel at a bargain price? Most people assume that's impossible, until they hear about brand number 7. And here's where things get interesting. 7. Arco, the budget brand that outsmarts everyone. Arco sells fuel for 10 to 20 cents less per gallon than major brands, yet still earned top-tier certification. Most drivers assume low price equals low quality. They couldn't be more wrong. Arco's business model is simple. They minimize overhead by not accepting traditional credit cards at most locations. No credit card fees means no markup. That's the entire secret. The detergent package? Top tier. Same standard that Chevron, Shell, and Exxon use. Same base gasoline, same additive protection. Arco simply chooses to spend money on chemistry instead of credit card processing fees. A Miata owner once came in for a $90,000 service and looked almost guilty when he admitted he bought the cheap gas down the street. He expected judgment. He expected bad news. Instead, when the valve cover came off, everything looked great. Minimal deposits, clean surfaces, healthy engine. That cheap Arco fuel had protected his engine better than he imagined. But don't get comfortable. Not all cheap gas is created equal. Some bargain brands protect your engine just fine. Others are quietly destroying hundreds of thousands of engines across the country. And one of the most misunderstood brands sits next on the list. 6. Citgo, the underrated dark horse. Citgo rarely gets the attention of Chevron, Shell, or BP. But its detergent package, TriClean, is no slouch. Loaded with polyethyramine, one of the strongest detergents used in the industry. TriClean focuses on keeping injectors, valves, and combustion chambers free from sticky carbon layers that rob engines of power. People overlook Citgo for one simple reason. They assume a lower price means lower quality. But Citgo's pricing sits about 5 to 10 cents below its major competitors while still delivering legitimate protection. And because many Citgo stations have high fuel turnover, the gasoline is usually fresh, an underrated factor in engine health. The main drawback? Availability. In some regions, Citgo is everywhere. In others, it barely exists. But if you have one nearby, it's a smarter choice than many drivers realize. Now things begin to shift. Up to this point, we've been talking about brands that protect your engine, but the brands ahead, they take things further. They clean your engine while you drive. And next up is one that rarely gets credit for what its fuel actually does. 5. Valero, the straightforward protector most drivers ignore. Valero doesn't chase flashy marketing campaigns or dramatic commercials claiming revolutionary technology. They don't splash futuristic graphics across TV screens or make wild promises about extending your engine life by 300 miles per year. Instead, they invest quietly and heavily in the chemistry that actually matters. Their detergent package meets top-tier standards across their network, meaning every grade of Valero fuel contains the level of deposit protection modern engines require. What makes Valero compelling is its honesty. They're not trying to sell themselves as the greatest fuel on Earth, but their additive system works the same way the big players do. When fuel injectors are protected, the spray pattern stays sharp. When valves stay clean, the air-fuel mixture remains precise. When carbon can't accumulate, your engine stays efficient. That's not hype, that's chemistry. Valero's pricing usually lands in the middle, not bargain level like Arco, not premium like Shell V-Power or Chevron with Techron. But you're not paying for endorsements or multi-million-dollar ad campaigns. You're paying for an additive package that prevents misfires, improves combustion, and shields your engine over time. The only thing to watch is fuel turnover. Like many brands, Valero stations in high-traffic areas, especially near highways, tend to have fresher fuel. Gasoline degrades as it sits, and even good additives can't reverse oxidation. It's not the brand's fault, it's the station's volume. Choose Valero stations with steady traffic, and your engine will thank you. But as strong as Valero is, what comes next is far more unpredictable, because the next brand changes dramatically depending on where you live. 4. Sunoco. Outstanding in some states, risky in others. Sunoco has a split identity. In certain regions, their stations are top-tier certified and use strong detergent packages that rival the big players. In those places, Sunoco fuel provides excellent long-term protection and matches automaker recommendations for deposit control performance. But in other regions, the Sunoco name appears on stations that do not carry top-tier certification, and those locations use only minimal detergent additives. It's a coin toss. One Sunoco station might sell high-quality fuel engineered to safeguard injectors and valves. Drive 10 miles to a different Sunoco location, and you might end up pumping gas that barely meets EPA minimums, and those minimums are embarrassingly outdated. Written for the port injection engines of decades past, not the direct injection engines that dominate today's vehicles. The problem stems from ownership and supply contracts. Sunoco stations are often operated by franchisees, each working with different distributors and additive suppliers. The result is inconsistent chemistry hiding behind the same logo. The solution is simple but rarely practiced. Check for the top-tier logo at the pump. If it's there, you're good. If not, keep driving. The brand name on the sign tells you far less than the sticker on the pump. But while Sunoco struggles with consistency, the next brand takes a much more aggressive approach, one that not only prevents carbon buildup, but actively removes what lesser fuels are left behind. And that brings us to a global giant with one of the most talked about detergent packages in the industry. 3. BP. The brand that cleans as you drive. BP's additive package, Invigorate, has a bold reputation. They claim it can restore lost mileage over time, adding up to hundreds of miles per year due to its aggressive cleaning chemistry. Is that marketing exaggeration? Maybe. But the science behind it is real. When injectors are clogged, they spray fuel unevenly. When valves are coated in carbon, the air-fuel ratio becomes unstable. When combustion chambers become layered with deposits, efficiency plummets. Cleaning those areas restores lost performance, and Invigorate does exactly that. What separates BP from most competitors is that its detergent package doesn't simply prevent new carbon from sticking. It breaks down existing deposits, slowly dissolving the buildup created by years of low additive fuel. That dual-action formula makes a measurable difference in engines with 50,000, 100,000, and even 150,000 miles on them. BP is also top-tier certified, so its chemistry exceeds EPA requirements by a wide margin. And unlike Sunoco, BP maintains consistency across regions. Whether you pump BP or Amoco fuel, the Invigorate blend is the same. BP positions its fuel alongside Chevron's Techron and Shell's V-Power Nitro Plus. Different formulas, same goal: fight carbon before it ruins your engine. With widespread station availability and strong fuel turnover, BP remains a safe and smart choice, especially for aging engines. But even with all that strength, BP takes second place to a brand that doesn't bother with flashy marketing at all. A brand that simply does the job exceptionally well. 2. Phillips 66. The quiet contender, backed by proven chemistry. Phillips 66 isn't trying to reinvent gasoline. They don't claim secret proprietary molecules or magical performance enhancers. Instead, they rely on the same trusted additive standards used by 76, with top-tier certification baked into their network. What makes Phillips 66 impressive is its reliability. The fuel does exactly what it's supposed to do: prevent deposits from forming on the most sensitive engine components. That means injectors stay sharp, valves stay clean, combustion stays consistent, Nothing flashy, nothing extreme. Just consistent protection with no gimmicks. Pricing typically sits solidly in the middle. Rarely the cheapest, never overpriced. Their coverage varies by region, but where they exist, drivers often report long-term engine cleanliness that rivals the biggest brands. Phillips 66 is the definition of simple but effective. And in a world full of marketing noise, sometimes the straightforward choice wins. But they aren't number one, because the top spot goes to a brand that beats nearly every major competitor. Not with secret chemistry, but with unbeatable freshness and massive turnover. 1. Costco/Kirkland Signature, the warehouse giant that outsmarts everyone. Costco doesn't just sell gas, it moves mountains of gas. Their stations pump more fuel per location than almost any brand in the country. That matters more than most drivers realize. Gasoline degrades over time, even with good additives. Old fuel loses volatility and can form deposits regardless of its detergent package. Costco solves this with sheer volume. Their fuel is almost always fresh. And here's the real kicker. Costco fuel is top-tier certified. It uses the same level of detergent protection as Chevron, Shell, and Exxon, but costs 15 to 30 cents less per gallon. Their business model doesn't include franchise fees or traditional profit margins. They sell fuel at razor-thin markups, using it as a membership incentive rather than a profit center. The result? Premium quality chemistry at budget pricing. One customer brought in a Toyota Camry with 180,000 miles, having used Costco fuel exclusively since the day it rolled off the lot. When the valve cover came off for a timing chain job, the results were shocking. The valves looked nearly new. Minimal deposits, clean surfaces, healthy engine. For fuel that costs less than the major brands, that's nothing short of impressive. The only downside? Lines. Costco stations get busy, but waiting 5 minutes to save $6 or $8 per tank while getting excellent detergent protection is an easy trade-off. Now you know the brands that protect your engine, but what about the brands that quietly destroy it? That's where things get serious. The 5 worst fuel brands destroying engines. Not all gasoline is created equal. Some brands cut additives to the bare minimum to maximize short-term profit, leaving your engine vulnerable to carbon buildup, injector clogs, misfires, and expensive repairs. These are the brands to avoid. 5. Shell Regular. Not all Shell fuel is created equal. Shell's premium fuel, V-Power Nitro Plus, is excellent, but their regular grade? Not even close. Shell doesn't apply the full nitrogen-enriched detergent package to their standard fuel. And at low-volume Shell stations, things get even worse. Some franchisees underdose regular fuel to save money, trusting that the brand name alone will protect them from scrutiny. The result is inconsistent chemistry hiding under a premium reputation. Regular Shell fuel technically meets EPA standards, but those standards are so weak that they barely prevent any real deposit formation. If you go to Shell, buy V-Power. Otherwise, go somewhere else entirely. But if you think Shell Regular is inconsistent, the next brand is downright predictable, in the worst way imaginable. 4. Murphy USA. The illusion of savings with a hidden cost. Murphy USA stations are strategically placed near Walmart stores, targeting budget-conscious drivers who want low fuel prices. But here's the truth. Murphy USA doesn't meet top-tier standards. Their additive levels sit at the bare minimum allowed by law. EPA minimums are not designed to protect modern engines. They were created decades ago when engines were simpler and far less sensitive to deposits. Today's fuel injectors are microscopic precision components that clog easily, and DI engines are notorious for carbon buildup. Using fuel that barely meets outdated standards is a recipe for early maintenance bills. You might save 10 or 15 cents per gallon today, but you'll pay hundreds, sometimes thousands, in injector cleaning or valve blasting years earlier than necessary. But if Murphy USA is the predictable bargain trap, the next category is even more dangerous, because you never know what you're getting. 3. Independent local stations. The additive lottery. Independent stations buy fuel from the same pipelines as major brands, but because they operate on razor-thin margins, many choose the cheapest additive packages at the terminal. Some skip detergents entirely, others underdose by significant amounts. The only guarantee is inconsistency. A Honda Accord owner once came in complaining of rough idle and hesitation at just 55,000 miles. When the injectors were pulled, they were coated in varnish, thick layers of yellow-brown residue caused by inadequate detergent levels. The cleaning bill was $380. The owners saved maybe $150 over 2 years by buying discount gas. It wasn't a savings. It was a down payment on a repair bill. The worst part is that some independent stations do use good additives, but you have no way to know. Every fill-up becomes a gamble, and if you think that's dangerous, it's nothing compared to the next brand, because they don't even control their own supply chain. 2. Circle K, the brand with zero chemistry. Consistency. Circle K is a convenience store chain, not a fuel company. They buy gasoline from whichever supplier is cheapest in each region. That means the additives can change from day to day, station to station, and state to state. One Circle K might sell fuel with strong detergents. Another might sell fuel that barely meets EPA minimums. Adding to the issue, Circle K stations vary wildly in maintenance quality. Some have modern underground tanks and good filtration. Others have aging equipment that increases the risk of moisture contamination, one of the fastest ways to ruin fuel quality. When a brand lacks control over supply, additives, and storage, engine protection becomes random chance. But the worst category, by far, is the one with no brand at all. 1. Generic discount stations, the silent engine killers. These stations undercut competitors by 20 cents per gallon or more. Their secret? They use the cheapest possible fuel additive packages, often below top-tier requirements. Some underdose, some skip detergents entirely. The EPA minimum allows it, but your engine certainly doesn't. A customer once brought in an F-150 EcoBoost with severe misfires at only 48,000 miles. When the intake came off, the valves were covered in carbon so thick it looked like someone had layered black clay over the metal. The repair cost? $740. The fuel savings over 3 years? About $300. He didn't save anything. He paid extra, just later, with interest. Generic stations also suffer from extremely low fuel turnover, meaning old gasoline sits in underground tanks for weeks or months. Stale fuel loses volatility and burns poorly, and moisture contamination becomes a real threat. The savings are fake, the damage is real, and the repair bills always arrive eventually. Conclusion. The truth. Most drivers never learn. Every driver wants to save money at the pump, but the biggest savings don't come from paying less today. They come from preventing carbon buildup that costs hundreds or thousands tomorrow. Top-tier brands protect your engine. Budget brands with strong chemistry do too. But discount stations cutting corners with additives? They trade your engine's health for a few pennies of perceived savings. The reality is simple. It's not the octane. It's not the base gasoline. It's not the brand on the sign. It's the invisible chemistry added at the terminal that determines whether your engine lives clean or dies young. Now that you know which fuel brands protect your engine and which ones quietly destroy it, there's one more piece of the puzzle. Even the best gasoline can't save your engine if you're making critical mistakes at the pump. In my next video, I'm exposing the refueling habits that cost drivers thousands without them ever realizing it. You won't look at a gas station the same way again.